The Virek vessel Cornathe slid into high orbit like a silent blade. Its hull shimmered with refractive shielding, reflecting the chaotic hues of Virek 9. Blue lightning storms pulsed across the stratosphere while windswept ash plains stirred far below. The planet was alive, angry, and indifferent. Subcommander Jarl Thun stood at the observation rail, 6 fingers clasped neatly behind his back. His pale skin almost glowed against the darkness of the command deck. "Report," he said without turning. "Initial scans complete," answered First Analyst Kareth. "Atmosphere, 62% nitrogen, 23% oxygen, high trace sulfuric content. Native fauna, unusually aggressive." "Define unusually," Thun said. Kareth hesitated, a slight twitch of his lower mandible. 2 drones lost in 10 minutes. First shredded midair by winged megafauna. Second, swallowed. Swallowed? Yes, sir. Entirely. No signal remnants. Thun's eyes narrowed. He'd read the planetary classifications before departure. Virek 9 was a Class 6 death world. Not rare, but rarely valuable. Its lifeforms were too unstable, the terrain unwelcoming, and the storms made atmospheric operations almost suicidal. Still, bioweapon analysts back at Virek High Command believed the planet's ecosystem held weaponizable potential. Creatures that survived lightning, poison, and predators the size of transports. Now they just needed confirmation. "Send in Survey Pod Alpha," Thun ordered. "Low-altitude hover. Remote weapons armed." The bridge dimmed as the order executed. Thun stepped forward, hands resting lightly on the edge of the display table. A live feed opened, Survey Pod Alpha descending through swirling clouds, scanners pinging off dense jungle canopies. "Thermal signatures detected," Kareth said. "Multiple. Large. Moving." Thun leaned closer. Below, heat-blotched outlines crisscrossed dense brush, some long and serpentine, others stalky and fast. The jungle was loud even without sound, limbs shifting, foliage collapsing, shapes darting too quick to track. Then something moved that wasn't native. It was humanoid. It moved with purpose, low to the ground, cutting through underbrush, silent despite the chaos. The pod's AI locked onto it, zooming in. "No known match," Kareth said. "Shape suggests sentience. Possibly indigenous?" "Enhance," Thun said. The image sharpened, muscular frame, armored plating on shoulders and thighs, an oxygen rebreather strapped tight over the jaw. The being crept toward a rock formation, then paused, scanning the canopy above. Then it waved. Not a signal. Not distress. A casual wave. As if it knew it was being watched. The pod's AI froze, unsure how to respond. A moment later, a pulse of electromagnetic interference surged upward from below. The feed went dark. "Drone offline," Kareth said. Thun stared at the static. "That wasn't native," he said softly. Minutes later, the pod's wreckage plummeted from the sky, trailing smoke as it cratered just south of their coordinates. Retrieval units scrambled, but Thun didn't wait. Instead, he pulled up the last 10 seconds of audio that came through before the blackout, filtered, cleaned, and translated by their linguistics AI. "Got another one. Tag the meat. Skin it before the flies come." Silence fell across the bridge. Kareth looked up slowly. "That was Terran standard." Thun turned toward him, voice calm but sharp. "You're telling me there are humans on this planet already?" "Yes, sir." "And they're hunting?" Kareth hesitated. "Yes, sir." Thun exhaled through his nose slits. "Without registration. Without clearance. On a classified world." He walked back to the center of the bridge, spine rigid. "This planet was marked uninhabitable. How long have they been here?" "No official logs of human settlement. They may be off-grid," Kareth offered. "Mercenaries? Criminals? Survivalists? Unknown. But they're well-equipped. They killed the survey pod with precision." Thun stared at the swirling storm outside the viewport. Prepare a message to Terran Command. Inform them they have illegal personnel on Virek 9, and we demand immediate withdrawal. Kareth blinked. And if they deny? Thun's jaw tightened. Then we'll do what this planet does best. Across the surface of Virek 9, nestled beneath a canopy of acid-resistant ferns and moss-covered basalt cliffs, a low bunker hummed with heat and silence. Inside, Captain Elias Gage leaned over a holographic table, inspecting the jawbone of something that had nearly eaten his rookie an hour ago. His armor was scratched, his left gauntlet cracked. Dried blood, not his, was streaked across his chest plate. His rebreather hung from his belt. New species, said Arjun, the squad's field biologist. Similar to the shrike lizards we catalogued in Delta Basin, but this one has a secondary set of muscle mandibles. Elias nodded slowly, running a finger along the serrated bone edge. It didn't flinch when I hit it with a thermal blade. It evolved in magnetic storms. Probably doesn't even register heat the same way. Across the bunker, the comms panel blinked red. Hey, Gage, called Sarah, the tech specialist. We just got buzzed. Storm interference? She shook her head. Nope. Virek survey drone. High altitude. Active scan. Then it dropped like a stone. Elias stood, cracking his neck. They're early. Sarah raised a brow. You expecting visitors? I knew somebody would come. A planet like this? You don't keep it secret forever. He grabbed his rifle, slung it over his shoulder, and walked to the observation slit carved into the basalt. The sky was dimming. Thunder rolled in. He stared out, jaw tight. Prep the perimeter, he said. Something tells me they're not just here to say hello. In orbit, Thun watched the retrieval team hover above the pod wreckage. The pod was crushed. Its weapons were missing. The AI core had been removed. Deliberate salvage, Kareth muttered. Thun stared out at the lightning dancing across the horizon. This was supposed to be a clean survey. Another wild planet to tame. He turned voice low. And instead, we found predators who already built a fire in the dark. The jungle didn't sleep. Even at dawn, the air was thick with motion, buzzing wings, the grind of tectonic plates shifting beneath steaming soil, low-pitched growls reverberating through the underbrush like a drumbeat from something unseen. Captain Elias Gage crouched in the muck, one hand steady on his knee, the other pointing forward. Ahead of him, 10 meters through the sweat-soaked ferns, was their quarry. It stood taller than a transport hauler, skin like rippling obsidian, 6 legs anchored into the clay as it drank from a sulfuric creek. Its head swiveled slowly, jaw split with double rows of serrated bone, steam rising from its flanks. Visual confirmed, whispered Arjun over comms. Class 5 carapace. Motion sensitive. Proboscis retracts on sound over 80 decibels. Good, Elias murmured. Let's give it a reason to flinch. He looked over at Sarah, half buried beneath a thermal blind. She gave a silent thumbs up. The trap was primed. Elias stood. That was enough. The beast jerked upright, hissing a sound so low it shook the leaves. Its eyes, if it had any, locked on the sudden vertical shape. It lunged. Elias ran, straight past the trigger point. A half-second later, the lure activated, a sonic burst tuned to the creature's aggression frequency. It stopped mid-charge, confused. That was its mistake. From the canopy, 2 weighted cables dropped and tangled around its middle limbs. Sarah detonated the bait charge. A concussive flash lit the clearing. The beast screamed, until Elias was on its back, blade in hand, driving the thermal edge between armored plates at the base of its spine. It convulsed once, then went still. Elias rolled off and landed in the mud, panting. Clean. Arjun climbed down. Why do you always play bait? Because I'm ugly enough to scare anything dumb enough to chase me, Elias said. He glanced back at the corpse. Harvest what we can. Liver sacs are full of antifungal agents. Bones for barbs. I want it stripped in 30. Back at base, the jungle's noise faded behind heavy walls and sonic dampeners. Gage stood shirtless beneath the water recycler, steam hissing off old scars. His hands shook slightly, not from fear, but from the aftermath. The kind of adrenaline drop you never quite get used to. Sarah tossed him a data slate. That Virek signal's still hovering. They haven't left orbit. They won't, Elias said, drying his face. This place is gold for them. They think they found a lab in hell. She raised a brow. You sure they know we're here? He tapped the side of his head. One of their drones saw me. I made sure of it. Why? To see how long they take to lie about it. Later that evening, the wind shifted. Virek 9 had no seasons, just moods. And this one was hostile. Lightning forked above the tree line. Elias stood on the observation ledge beside Arjun, scanning the horizon. Something unnatural blinked beyond the hills. Low-orbit craft. Not orbital. That's a landing trajectory, Arjun said. Good. Let's say hello. The drop pod came in hard, scorched at the edges. It deployed with precision, 5 Virek in full recon armor, stepping out like they were walking onto a museum floor. Their exosets glowed faintly in the darkness, powered by radiant shielding. They moved quickly, forming a perimeter. Standard military doctrine. Too standard. The jungle was already watching. From a kilometer away, Elias crouched with Sarah, binoculars locked on the squad. They're fast, she muttered. They're loud. 2 minutes later, the jungle responded. A burst of movement, silent, lethal, rushed from the ferns. The first Virek screamed as he was dragged upward by something chitinous and multi-limbed. Another fired wildly, striking trees and shadows alike. Within 30 seconds 3 were down. The others bolted. They didn't skin for pheromone trails, Elias said flatly. Sarah whistled. Amateurs. He stood. We're going after the last one. They found him half dead, pinned under a fallen log, exosuit cracked open like a crabbed shell. His upper arms were useless. The wound across his abdomen was clean but deep. Elias approached, rifle raised. The Virek flinched, expecting a shot. Instead, Elias slung the rifle across his back and crouched. You're lucky, he said. They usually go for the head. The Virek didn't reply, just wheezed through a broken rebreather. Elias gestured to Arjun. Stabilize him. You're helping him? Sarah asked over private comms. He's worth more alive. To who? To us. Night fell in hard sheets of rain. Inside the main shelter, the Virek scout lay sedated, injuries patched and sealed. His eyes opened briefly, focusing on the flickering fire at the center of the room. Around him, humans worked like predators at rest. Quiet. Alert. Efficient. One cleaned a blade. Another carved data into bone tags. Sarah disassembled a sonic lure. The Virek turned his gaze to Elias, who sat nearby sharpening a tool. You live here, the alien rasped. We thrive here, Elias corrected. Why? Elias paused. Because it's honest. Nothing here pretends to be civilized. If it wants to kill you, it tries. If you want to live, you fight. That's how it should be. The Virek blinked slowly. You do not fear? Oh, we fear plenty, Elias said. But we stop letting it tell us where to live. He stood and walked to the fire, tossing in a damp stick. The flames flared. We've been on this rock for 3 years. No backup. No support. Just the gear we brought, the skills we learned, and the mistakes that didn't kill us. The Virek's voice was weak. You are not sanctioned. Elias looked over his shoulder. We didn't come here for approval. Hours later, Elias watched the storm from the ramp. Lightning cracked the sky, outlining shapes far too big to name. Somewhere in the distance, a roar shook the mountains. Sarah joined him, holding a canteen. You think the Virek will come again? Elias didn't answer immediately. Finally, he said, They will. But next time, they'll bring more guns. And orders. Sarah nodded. What do we do when they drop the polite act? Elias smirked, eyes never leaving the jungle. We show them how humans hunt. The second drop ship came in under the storm cover. It was triple the size of the last, escorted by 2 autonomous gunships that circled like vultures. The descent wasn't subtle. Trees split from the thrust, a sonic boom rolled over the valley, and the jungle went deathly quiet. Elias Gage stood at the edge of a moss-covered ridge, watching the smoke spiral from the new landing zone. His jaw flexed, but his expression didn't change. They brought toys, Sarah said beside him, goggles glinting with HUD reflections. They brought numbers, he corrected. That means they're done talking. Behind them, the rest of the crew made final checks, quill knives honed, trap emitters calibrated, camouflage coatings reapplied. Everyone knew what this was now. Not an encounter. Not a misunderstanding. It was a test. The Virek didn't want peace. They wanted compliance. Elias turned to Arjun. They'll scan for bait. Which means we don't give them bait. What then? We give them a problem. Inside the Virek command dropper, Sub-Commander Thun paced across the metal floor, armored boots echoing. Holograms shimmered in front of him, heat signatures, terrain maps, predictive models. None of it matched. The humans are manipulating the data, his tech officer said. Using thermal ghosts, reflective skins, and native pheromones. Our drones are chasing phantoms. Thun's mandibles clicked. They're primitives. How? They've adapted. Fast. Too fast. He gestured at the wounded scout they'd recovered, still sedated. Thun stared at him a moment, then turned to his squad. Split into 2 formations. Staggered sweep westward. Find them. Flush them. Burn everything if you have to. The orders dropped like stone. They never saw the first trap. 2 squads advanced into the canyon ravine, sensors sweeping in tight arcs. 1 trooper stepped on what looked like moss-covered rock, only for the earth beneath him to implode. He vanished down a jagged hole lined with spiked growths soaked in paralyzing venom. His scream ended fast. The others hesitated. Then came the clicks. Dozens of native beetle hybrids, drawn by motion and the specialized scent gland Elias had planted hours earlier, poured from the trees. 1 Virek fired. The plasma discharge ignited the pheromone vapor. A white-hot flash tore through the ravine. 3 gone. The rest scattered. From above, Elias watched through scope. Trap 1 cleared, he said. They're off rhythm now. Sarah's voice crackled through comms. East flank is pushing hard. I've got noise under the brush line. Fast movers. Elias dropped from the tree with practiced ease. He hit the ground rolling and signaled the fallback path. Collapse line. Draw them through Black Hollow. The hollow was a scarred stretch of jungle with no canopy, just blackened soil, dead vines, and the bones of beasts too big to bury. Magnetic interference screwed with sensors. Creatures didn't enter without reason. Which made it perfect. Elias and his team ran silent. They triggered no alarms, left no scent. The Virek chased the motion, not knowing they were being herded. At the hollow's edge, Elias pulled a long spear from his back, sharpened bone, fused with a plasma filament. He crouched by Sarah. They brought suppression drones? 3. Already down. Jungle took care of 2. I got the last with a bug bomb. Elias grunted. Remind me never to piss you off. They waited. Then came the march, 6 Virek soldiers, tight formation, weapons humming. Confident. Professional. Just not ready. A low rumble rolled under the ash. Elias smiled. The ground split open. A ridgeback devourer, 3 stories tall, all claws and gnarled armor, burst from the hollow. Its roar shattered leaves. The Virek formation scattered. 2 fell instantly. A third fired a plasma lance, useless. The creature crushed him with 1 step. Elias didn't fire. He didn't need to. The predator wasn't hunting them. It was hunting everything. Sarah tossed a motion flare, drawing it toward the eastern slope. That buys us 5 minutes, Plenty, Elias said. Upload the packet. She nodded, fingers dancing across her tablet. Live stream is up. Broadcasting on Virek military frequencies and open council channels. Raw footage, no edits. Perfect. In orbit, aboard the Cornathi, the bridge filled with static, then video. First-person footage of jungle ambushes, predator attacks, human survival. A Virek soldier screaming for evac while Gage's voice echoed. You landed on a planet we've already made home. You called it a death world. We call it a challenge. Then came the metadata, coordinates, timestamps, Virek troop losses, ecological scans, all cross-referenced and publicly tagged. A legal payload. The comm officer turned pale. We're being hailed by the Galactic Council. Priority code red. Thun's mandibles twitched. Mute it. Back on the ground, Elias climbed atop a boulder and activated the localized comm beacon. It pinged the Virek frequency. A response came instantly, angry, encrypted, and fast. Terran unit. Thun's voice growled. You are in violation of Sovereign Command Protocol. Cease interference or be neutralized. Elias responded calmly. Funny. That's what we were going to tell you. You're animals. Thun snapped. Elias looked around at his crew, mud-streaked, bleeding, unbowed. Hunters. Survivors. No, he said. We're predators. You just didn't expect us to already be here. 30 minutes later, the Virek began withdrawing. Quietly. No broadcasts. No final threats. Just the hum of engines lifting away from a planet that no longer looked unclaimed. Elias watched the last ship vanish beyond the storm clouds. He didn't celebrate. Just leaned on his spear and let the silence settle. Arjun joined him. We're trending. Elias didn't laugh. The council won't forget this. Neither will the Virek. Sarah approached, holding her rifle. So what do we do now? Elias looked out across the jungle, where the shadows moved like water. We hunt. We learn. We keep the fire lit. He picked up his gear. If they come back, he said, they'd better bring gods.